T1 did it again. The world champions defended their title against KT in a 5-game banger of a series. Things did look dicey at times, as they sometimes do for T1, but you can never count them out, and they somehow look even more terrifying when they're on the brink of losing. Let's get into it. 10 minutes into Game 1, KT collapsed onto T1 in top lane to turn a 1v2 into a 3v2 and secure both kills at an almost 2k gold lead. But as KT tried to put themselves on sole point 8 minutes later, a nasty flank from Doran's Ambessa made T1's gold deficit look irrelevant and swung the game's momentum firmly in their favor.
Doran into the back line. Owner stays standing. Cuz take it down. T1 fired back. No matter the early deficit, T1, they still win the team fight. They still get the dragon, and they're looking for BDD. On the hunt for BDD, but there's just nowhere for him to go. In the blink of an eye, KT's lead disappears.
Doran threaded the needle with another public execution onto Dam's Ashe, and in the extended team fight, it looked like BDD might be able to save things, but T1 always seemed to have an extra man to pull out of the bag. KT's attempts to stabilize the game were in vain. T1 took their second Baron at 35 minutes, and when Doran sniped Dam for what felt like the 10th time that game, T1 piled in and demolished KT, taking the Nexus down in 36 minutes to give themselves first blood in the series.
This video is sponsored by our friends over at Opera GX, who have the definitive browser for gaming. Opera GX has forged an official partnership with Riot Games and is the ultimate browser for keeping up with League of Legends esports during World Season. And to maximize your experience as a League fan, Opera GX has created Riot Corner, a one-stop shop where you can follow all the major World storylines as they happen. It's got tournament matches and results, a calendar, and all the live co-streamers, so you can get every juicy morsel of your World's content in one place. You can access Riot Corner by downloading one of the official League mods in Opera GX, which is my personal favorite feature. You can choose from a collection of unique League themes that make your browser look really dope. So download Opera GX today using the link in the description and get started.
A 2v2 in Game 2 went the way of KT after BDD rooted Faker under turret. Cuz cleaned up to give himself a strong early lead on Vi. After picking off Cuz at 18 minutes, T1 were able to win the team fight near Dragon and start asking KT questions about how they were going to handle Guma's Sivir, something which teams rarely have an answer for. But T1 overplayed their hands soon after, Cuz refusing to die in a 1v3 drained so much of T1's resources that they had nothing left on the back end of the fight, and KT were able to clean up from there. With an almost 10k gold lead, KT looked to take their 4th Chemtech Dragon and Soul, and T1 knew they had to make a stand.
KT starting to retreat, starting to get forced backwards. Doran to kick things off. Peter to look for the interrupt. Faker using an ulti of his own to be stolen away. BDD taking out the fight. But down goes Guma. Cuz making it work, but PD's owned away by Carrier, and all of KT now collapsing on the T1 support. At the end of the day, it is only Owner, and he cannot stop the Soul.
It looked like T1 might have found a miracle in their desperate base defense as Guma started to heat up, but KT just about managed to lock him down, and when the dust settled, there was no one left to stop Perfect from taking the Nexus and evening up the series. Game 3 really kicked off when KT won the Dragon flip and ran T1 down on the back end.
Objective, lower and lower, and Cuz taking unstoppable for Perfect. Gets a bit more space. Carrier still living. Docked him on the way in, and Guma set the fall. Down goes the 80 carry. Docked him on the way out. The TP in. Fish in a barrel, and it's time for KT to start free firing. T1 thought they had the edge, but in the end, it's KT who take the Drake and the play.
Only 300 gold separated the teams just before 29 minutes, but a clutch scatter the weak from BDD onto Doran gave KT an advantage before T1 could even hit back. T1 tried to stop Baron a few minutes later, but Dam's bodyguards deleted them in the pit to swing the game firmly in KT's favor.
Peter on the way and wants to knock them out of the fight. The objective getting lower and lower, but off T1! Deleted! In the blink of an eye, KT take everything!
With Soul and a 2k gold lead, KT took the 5v5 outside Baron, and T1 melted in the front-to-back fight.
Maximum dosage, Cuz getting lower, but still living. The Mundo refusing to die, and Gomayuchi drops. KT taking it across the finish line. Faker forced back. The bot lane open. The TP there for BDD. KT moving to match point.
KT took down the Nexus to put themselves on series point, and T1 now had a mountain to climb. Game 4 saw a passive early game from both sides, but BDD's 4-man Cassiopeia ult in a 5v5 dragon fight before 12 minutes sent T1 running.
BDD starting to walk forward, Doran potentially caught out. The 4-man! BDD! Showing he can be clutch in the moments that count! Turning it again, KT were losing the fight as they lost the objective. Gumayusi will not be able to make the bailout work. The Drake to T1, the fight to KT.
8 minutes later at the Atakan fight, Faker's Anivia kept Cuz perma-distracted, allowing Guma to rend the objective for T1. You could really feel KT's frustration through the screen as they tried to stop T1 from securing Soul, constantly slowed and blocked by Anivia while Guma danced perfectly out of range.
Hostile takeover connecting. They don't have a cleanse. Devour from Peter is good, but it might not matter. Cuz continuing to move in. BDD waiting over the wall. The ulti is there, but they don't need to face him yet. The turn on to Faker isn't enough. 3K. Cuz in the pit. At the end of the day, it does not matter because it is Doran to get the Soul. KT might be able to get the fight, but there's too many members of T1 standing. Ocean Soul to T1 as everybody on KT falls.
The futility of KT's position was perfectly exemplified when BDD landed what looked like it could be a game-saving Cass ult, only for T1 to whip out their wallets and for Guma to just style on them.
Forced to flash back. BDD in the darkness! 3-man! But it's Doran to try to turn it right back. The ulti is decent. Carry wants to turn it back with a hostile takeover. The gold deficit is just too massive. Even a miracle, even an incredible angle was not enough in the face of this T1 lineup. The triple, the quadra, T1 bringing us to silver scrapes.
In Game 5, BDD and Faker traded early on, and things felt personal.
And now you don't have that pressure at all.
Q forward, sidestep, the taunt, Faker turning it back, BDD one more auto, the 1-for-1!
Carrier walking away with single-digit health from a turret dive gave us the feeling that the gods were once again on T1's side. The mid-game team fights felt fairly close despite T1's gold lead as KT held T1's terrifying dive comp at arm's length. A greedy T1 fumble as they tried to take mid-tier 1 had us asking if the pressure had maybe got to them, but a crucial Atakan fight just before 22 minutes showed the true power of their comp as they waited out KT's cooldowns before going in for the kill.
BDD finally arrived, that's the ulti coming in the meantime, he needs a little bit more space, docked on, BDD untouched, but the front line has fallen, BDD, CC'd, knocked into the sky, and right back into the grave, T1, get Atakan, and ace KT!
T1 engaged on KT at 28 minutes at Dragon, and Guma really showed why this final game might go down in history as one of his best.
Immediately CC'd, Exhaust coming in as well, combo over the top from Guma, finds two, Exhaust as Carrier moves his way to the backline, Faker rains down from the sky, locks up BDD, and obliterates the hope for KT roster!
10 minutes later, T1 put down KT's final stand, sending them scattering into oblivion and opening up the Nexus for T1 to secure the game, the series, the tournament, and defend their title to complete the 3P and become 6-time world champions.
T1 earning their legacy again and again and again. There can be no doubting it. 4 players on the Rift today making the impossible possible. Owner, Faker, Gumayusi, Carrier, and now Doran as well are world champions.
And what can you even say at this point? T1 have done it again when almost everyone doubted them. They started in play-ins with a fight against IG to even qualify for the tournament and took down every obstacle in their way to now take the title. Their record is unparalleled in League's history. There's nothing to even compare this level of dominance to. We've had to evoke other games and sports to even wrap our heads around what this team, and Faker in particular, has achieved over the past decade, and even then words are beginning to fail. Faker is now a 6-time world champion. Most pro players haven't even attended Worlds that many times. The only player he's even in competition with at this point is his previous self, and he's still beating him every year. And look, it was an incredible tournament for KT. They were amazing, real heartbreaking stuff for BDD. In another world, some of those Syndra and Cassiopeia performances would be worthy of a title, but we're not living in that world. We're living in Faker's world. To try and digest it all though, we had Wetselaar on the ground there in China.
What an event, what a tournament, a 5-game telecom war, history on so many levels. There's a ton of moments and players to break down and mention, but tonight, in front of the stadium where it all went down, I want to take a moment to talk about Gumayushi and especially his heroic performance in Game 5. This is a player who, at the beginning of the year, was competing for his starting spot on the roster with Smash, largely because he was struggling to play mobile AD carries like Kai'Sa and Ezreal. He spent the spring absolutely grinding these champions in solo queue and absolutely popped off on Kai'Sa earlier in the tournament.
항상 고난과 시련을 통해서 배움을 얻는다고 생각하고요. 이번에 제가 얻은 배움은 이 게임적으로 일단 저의 약점 같은 부분들을 보완하는 데 많은 도움이 됐던 것 같고 또 멘탈적으로도 항상 힘든 일이 있어도 또 좋은 순간을 위한 것이라는 깨달음을 또 한 번 얻은 것 같습니다.
And then in a critical Game 5, T1 put together this powerful dive composition with Pantheon, Camille, and Galio, and in the second round of bans, KT felt they had to ban Kai'Sa against Guma. Talk about a comeback. Instead, Guma locked in Misfortune, pulling off one of the craziest MF team fights I've ever seen when his team needed him the most. He absolutely crushed Game 5, earning himself Finals MVP. And look, there were some incredible performances tonight. I think there's an argument that Owner could have been MVP, even though he sort of struggled in T1's losses. People are making a case for Keria as well. But I think this year has been such an incredible example of growth from one of the game's most resilient and clutch AD carries. In the end, I honestly can't believe that I'm standing here after another year and another T1 World Championship. The first three-peat in history, the most successful roster the game has ever seen. And look, some of you are tired of us glazing Faker, but you have to hand it to them. This is such a momentous achievement, especially when you consider how much his team struggled at the beginning of the year. And look, if you want me to stop glazing Faker, you're simply going to have to ask him to stop winning.
Well, we've come to the end of the video and I'm still pretty lost for words, to be honest. I'd be interested now to hear what you guys make of T1's tournament and what skins you think they're gonna go for. I think Doran Ambessa is an absolute must, and surely it has to be Nico for Keria. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching The Last Hit, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Kicked off 2025 competing. Come on. It's bigger than before. It's so kill me.
Whoever's editing this video, it's like 10:45.
Oh.